Hello and welcome to a new episode of the Yarnflakes Podcast. My name is Audrey. I am a knitwear designer from the southwest of France, and this is a podcast where I chat about all of my fiber arts mix. Hi, thank you so much for joining me. I hope you are doing well. I have a well-packed episode for you this time, and you might hear in my voice that I unfortunately have been a little bit sick. I fell sick just before the Petites festival where I was planning to go. So I cancelled because I didn't want to go there while being sick. So yeah, I was all sad and grumpy and grumbling. But yeah, nothing too serious. I spent the weekend kind of incapacitated, in bed. Now I feel a little bit better. And to sort of combat the sadness and the FOMO, the fear of missing out, the reality of having missed out, I wanted to film a little podcast filled with lots of fun projects and share them with you. So yeah, nothing too serious, but it just did put me down a little bit. And if you hear still, my voice is a little bit stuffy, and if I cut with no warning the podcast, it's because I'm coughing. So there's that. But yeah, I have a lot of things to share, so I will not ramble too much. I am going to start. You can find timestamps to all the different sections of the podcast in the description down below. So if you want to find a project in particular, you can feel free to look at that. I also put links to the patterns and the yarns I will be mentioning, as well as the links to my social media and my patterns, which are for sale on Ravelry and Payhip. So I have 3 designs that I have recently published or republished that I want to share with you. And the first one is the sweater that I'm wearing, which is the Kalmia sweater. And this is a little bit of a fun color block, or not, because as you will see, it is highly customizable, but a little fun sweater. So this is a drop shoulder sweater, which the body of which is knitted bottom up flat. So you start with the back, right, which is knitted. You have the 2x2 ribbing, and then you have stockinette with the reverse stockinette showing. You shape the armholes, the shoulder, and then you start the front. And the front is knitted in 2 parts. One is like the back, reverse stockinette, and one is in a cabled texture. So this is a very simple cable texture. It's just 4 stitches cable with some garter stitch in between. And it is knitted in a contrast color. So you're knitting intarsia. And intarsia is really simple if you have never done it. Don't feel like it's like stranded knitting or slip stitches. It's actually just as simple as you're knitting with your color, number 1. Here you switch and you cross them once, and then you take the new color and you go the other way. The pattern has instructions on step by step how it's done. It's very simple. And same thing, you go all the way up. You join the shoulders with a 3 needle bind off. And then you pick up stitches around the armholes and you knit the sleeves in the round in a simple dotted colorwork motif in a contrast color. And the sleeves are slightly fitted with decreases. And then you pick up stitches around the neck and you work the collar in 2x2 ribbing. And yeah, my voice. I do really like fun sweaters that can be made in various different ways. The point was to have something that is kind of a bridge, right, between a simple project but still fun. And the thing is, it's highly customizable. You can make it as simple or as wild as you like. Feel free to look at my testers versions, because that was really so fun. And I always like when the testers are really creative and really make the projects their own. And this was really the case here, so I'm so very grateful for them, because there are like a variety of things. If you don't do the sleeves in a contrast color, if you just do them simple, not with the color work. This already has a very different feel, right? There's a test version that is just shades of gray. Like just the contrast here is just a lighter gray, and it's very beautiful and subtle. And yeah, so you can only use 2 colors, or you can use a lot more than even I did, because technically you can make the back in 1 color. You can even split the back as well if you want to do the intarsia thing on the back. This side in 1 color, this side in 1 color, the sleeves in 2 different colors if you like. You can really go, like the ribbings as well, you can do in different colors. Like, you can really do whatever you like, and use leftovers as well, which was kind of my intention. And I wanted to have something that is visibly handmade, hand knitted. I kind of feel like there's a, I don't know how to say, there's kind of like two lines, right? When you're knitting your own garments, there's one part of me that is like, I want things that are easy to wear and staples and minimalistic. And you kind of have that thing where sometimes people who are not knitters, when they learn that I knitted one of the garments I'm wearing, and they're like, oh really, it looks like it was store-bought or something. And they mean it as a compliment. And I understand what that means, right? It's like, it's so sober. So you don't use sober in that sense in English, do you? I mean, it's so elegant and minimalist, and it doesn't look handmade, you know, like not the idea that people have of things that are handmade. And on the other hand, I do like when things are visibly knitted, you know. I do like the tradition of just being creative and putting things together and having something that is a bit of a patchwork of different colors and textures that allows you to use leftovers. And yeah, I like both. I like both sides. And I kind of feel like it's nice sometimes to do things that are visibly hand knitted, that are, a little bit more creative, that are something that people will notice as being knitted, and it's nice. It's nice as well. I don't know what you think about this. Do you go for the more bland? I don't mean it as as a negative, but something that is a little bit more easygoing, that is just not noticeably knitted? Or do you also like the more funky side of knitting, you know? Like, I wouldn't go as far as the 70s and the 80s with all the crazy fantasy yarns with like the plasticky little glittery bits and things. Like, there's still some of it, right? I'm not poking at the 70s and 80s. It's still a thing, and it's fun as well. But I like an in-between. And this design was kind of my in-between, you know? You can make it look funky and handmade, or you can make it look a little bit more subtle if you don't do the whole color blocking thing. And yeah, another modification is the neckline, obviously. If you would like something that is more open, you can totally pick up more stitches and knit a smaller ribbing, of course. It's not as tight as most of my necklines though. But yeah, this is knitted in sport weight. I used Pernilla from Filcolana, which I rave about all the time. It's really a yarn that I love. It's so versatile. It's a 3-ply, which means that it does show the texture really nicely, but it also has a little plump and a little fuzz that makes it look nice in color work. Look good in a variety of gauges, and it has the elasticity which is required when you're having different textures and different gauges like this. And it's nice. It's nice and soft. It has a nice color range, and I like sport weight sweaters a lot, especially to wear indoors. It's not cold enough in my home to wear DK or thicker sweaters. Cardigans are okay, but if I want a sweater, I most likely will go for a sport weight sweater when I'm staying indoors. And I have 2 sweaters with this really comfy, easy shape in Pernilla, and I love both. I love both of them. And I'm really happy to be showing this to you because now I can wear it. Now I can wear it without worrying about it looking messy afterwards. But yeah, that's it. That is it for Kalmia. It's an easy project, really. And yeah, it's also very portable because you're making it in pieces. And it's just a little bit of a fun project. I've been making quite a few garments that were more one note and intense, and so I wanted a little break, and this is what I made. And I hope you like it. I hope you like it. If you do, there is 15% off for the release on Ravelry with the code Kalmia, and I will put all the details in the description down below. So yeah, that is it for the first design. I have 2 more. I have 2 more. And the first one is a beret. A beret? 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 I don't know. That was beret. I don't know how you would say it. You get what it is, right? The Primerose beret, which was published initially in the gifts issue of Making back in winter 2021. I was lucky enough to have this published in their gift issue, and so it's a beret. That it starts with the brim, 2x2 rib, and then you have a lateral Vickel braid and this texture motif, which is a texture that I used in one of my previous designs, the Servion cardigan. And it's twisted stitches. It's a twist, right and left twist texture, which is really easy to do once you get the hang of it. Basically, it's only 4 stitches and 2 rows. So once you figure out how it works, it's really easy as well to maintain. The instructions are written only because the chart was unnecessarily confusing when it comes to the crown. And yes, you will just place markers and decrease in pattern, and it's rather intuitive. And yeah, so this is now available as a single pattern on Ravelry and Payhip, and it also has been translated into French if you're one of those French viewers who watches the English podcast. I don't know why you would do this, because I make even less sense. But this is it. So I'm not really a beret person. It doesn't look as good on me as it does on the model from Baking, especially since my hair is so thick. But that is how it looks like. I did something funny. I was making a little video for Instagram, and I noticed that you can have it sit like this, which yeah, makes me think of a little animation that I used to watch as a kid, and I don't know if it had a name in English, but it was 2 little mushrooms with big flat hats, and in French it was called Chapi Chapeau. I'm pretty sure it was an English thing. Anyway, knitted in fingering weight. Knitted in fingering weight. I used John Arbon Textiles knit by numbers, and that is it for the Primerose beret. There are 2 sizes of it, basically, and if you don't know how to block beret, you use a disc like a plate. Basically, you wet block it and then you insert inside a plate so that it lays flat like this and it keeps the round. Coughing break number 1. Pretty well timed, because I'm going to move on to the last design that I wanted to share with you, and it is the ceramic cowl. So I have been running a mystery knit along since the end of August. I do this every year. This is the 3rd time that we do this. And yeah, if you are still knitting the mystery knit along and you want to keep the surprise, look away, because I will be showing the design as it is now fully revealed and it is now published the normal way. And here it is. It is the ceramic cowl. So if you haven't seen it before or seen the videos where I talk about it. So it is a tube cowl that you start with the provisional cast on here, and then you knit it in the round. So you see it's double layers, and you knit it in the round until the end, and then you graft the two ends together using Kitchener stitch for an invisible stockinette grafting. And it features colorwork motifs that were inspired by azulejos or other ornamental ceramic tiles. And here are all the different clues that were part of the mystery during the knit along. So the pattern was revealed step by step during the mystery knit along, and here is the first clue. Here is the second. I did try to vary the shapes. I didn't want it to all be squares and things. I thought it would look more cohesive overall if there was some rectangles and different orientations of the things. And this is clue 3, which is one of my favorite. Clue 4. Clue 5, which is my favorite. And if you have seen the last podcast episode where I share a colorwork yoke that I was knitting, this is the part of the motif that I have taken and used in that yoke design. I just really like that design here. And the last clue, clue number 6. So yeah, and this is how it looks overall. I am really happy with it. It's always quite funny when I'm designing the planes. When I'm designing the mystery knit-alongs, because you think so much in parts, right? That sometimes it's very difficult to see how it's gonna look all together, and I really like it. I really like it. So yeah. This is easier than it looks because the colorwork is made in such a way that there is very, very few floats to catch. There is just a few times on the sides here where you need to catch your floats. But if not, it's a much simpler cowl than last year's, for example. And it's one that you can double around your neck like so. So yeah. It uses fingering weight. I used Knitting for Olive Merino in Petites, which is the creamy grayish yarn, navy blue, which is my main contrast color, and then I used a medium blue, which is Dusty Dove blue, to replace the white in some places because I wanted to add some pop of color. And you can have a look either at the hashtag on Instagram, which is ceramicmcal, or at the Ravelry project pages, where a lot of people have made so many different varied color choices, and it's always so fun. And I really want to thank everyone who participated in the mystery knit along. I hope you had fun. I really enjoy seeing everyone's progress and colorwork and seeing what colors you chose. So some people just went blue or black and white. There are very pretty autumnal ones. You can pretty much change colors more often, right? Because even within one clue, as you can see, you have separations basically. And in the pattern, there is notes on where to change colors. Like say, if you want to change colors a little bit more than what I did, you can stop here, etc. This is all included in the pattern. And yeah, you can change the background, you can change the motif color, whatever you like. Some people used hand-spun variegated yarns, and it looks really nice with a different contrast tone as well. And yes, someone has a blue cowl, but they used a varied blue that is kind of paler or darker, and it makes it look as if the tiles were a little bit worn, which is lovely as well. But yes, this is what it looks like. Any fingering weight yarn will do, by the way. The gauge is dense enough that even if you want to use a really smooth yarn because you want something soft to be around your neck, this will work. The pattern also includes instructions in case you want to make a smaller cowl, like just one cowl that would be about half the size, basically like this, and that you would put around your head just once. Basically, because there are 6 clues, right? What you do is, instead of knitting twice the same on both sides, like twice per round, basically, what you can do is you knit clue 1, clue 2, and then clue 3, 4, 5, 6. And this way you have all the different designs in a smaller cowl, which will also look good for children, for example. So that's also in the pattern. And yeah, so now it's a normal design release, and it's available on Ravelry, Payhip, and it will be on Loftcraft soon as well. And it should already be when you see this video. But yeah, so for those of you who have been waiting for the full design to be out, here it is. I hope you like it. And yeah, I really, really like it. I am really pleased with this one. It was really fun to work. I really like the more intricate motifs. And yeah, I do plan on continuing to make mystery knit-alongs. So if you don't know what a mystery knit-along is, you can check back the video where I announce the event. But yeah, I do plan on making more of those little mystery patterns. And I already have an idea. I have several ideas, but I think I know which one it will be next year. I try to make a little enigma on Instagram using emojis, and I thought it was so obvious, but then I think I confused people. So yeah, I do have an idea for next year's theme. And the things that I use on Instagram, I used a ball, arrows, and a thread or yarn, something. So yeah, these are the theme for next year. You tell me if you can guess what it is. And yeah, I will see if I can make it work just like I want. My dog is complaining. I will take care of that. They require their bed to be in the sunlight, so have to periodically move it so that it follows the rays of the sun. But that's it for all my designs that I wanted to share with you for this episode. I have 2 finished sweaters, finished personal works in progress. Well, finished. They're not works in progress anymore. Confused. Hey, I finished my Rococo pullover from Sari Nordlund. So, I'm not going to change. I will insert here videos of me wearing the sweater so you can see how it looks. So this was a bit of an experiment. It was my first time knitting with unspun yarns, which is the Nutiden yarn from the Swedish company, whose name I can never remember. Yeah, I would also not be able to pronounce it properly. But the beautiful Nutiden yarn. It was my first time knitting with it. And yeah, so this was on break over the summer because I was knitting it alongside my friend Annelise, and neither of us wanted to knit it in the summer. So we put it on break, and eventually I finished it more recently. And I really enjoyed knitting with it, and I really enjoyed figuring out a little bit what I liked and what I didn't like about Nutiden. If you don't know, it's an unspun yarn, and it's a really woolly, beautiful Swedish natural wool. And so I held it double for this, and well, I'm not sure it's the best yarn for this type of sweater. That is personal. And there's a couple of reasons why I think that. So Nutiden, being unspun, you have to knit it a certain way to be careful with it, to not break it. So you need to put it in a bowl first. It makes it easier, etc. But even so, I think I would much prefer to hold it triple, to have 3 plies, like 3 threads of Nutiden held together, or maybe 2 + 1 lace yarn, because just the 2, it was a bit too flimsy for my taste, even though it didn't break as much as I thought it would, not at all. And the resulting fabric is solid enough and really, really lovely. It blocked beautifully, and I like it. It's just that I think it would have needed to be a little bit denser, and at the same time, I couldn't because I was already knitting it on 3.75mm needles. And I just, didn't. I loved knitting the lace. The lace itself is beautiful. It's a really fun pattern. It has bubbles, it has smocks, etc. It has twisted stitches, which is kind of hard on this yarn, right? And yet it worked really well. So it really isn't as fragile as you might think. And I had overall a good experience. I just don't think that this would be my preferred way of knitting Nutiden. The problem is it suffers the comparison with Opie, because I started knitting this earlier this year. It was my first time knitting properly with unspun yarns. I had made swatches and things, but this was my first project with unspun yarn. And I put it on break over the summer, and I tried the Opie for a design of mine, which is also an unspun yarn, but it's a Spanish merino wool, and it comes already doubled, and it's much denser. It's much more, it holds its shape a lot more than the Nutiden. It's not as flimsy. And so when I got back to the Nutiden, it was a bit of a harsh contrast, basically. And it made me think that probably I would prefer the Nutiden held triple, right? Because it would have a little bit more grip. I'm purely talking about the knitting process here, because I do love the resulting fabric. It's warm and it's light. I don't know if I used even 300 grams. I don't think so. I think I was right under that for such a big, cozy sweater. And yeah, really, really nice. But as I was knitting it, even though it totally worked, it wasn't quite what I think I would love this yarn for, basically. The second thing is the construction of the sweater. So, because I was so unfamiliar with Nutiden, and because I didn't check and I wasn't careful, my gauge is completely off the rails. So this means that the shape of the sweater is slightly, the neckline is slightly bigger than what I like. And I did make a modification already, because I knitted size 3, but I cast it on the neck for size 1, and then I increased to size 3. And even so, because I didn't know how the Nutiden would behave, it is too wide for my taste. It kind of makes an oval shape, and you know I prefer tighter necklines in general, but for oversized yokes, it's even worse. Like, I really don't like the shape of a yoke if the neckline is like, I feel like I have an oval shape here, and then it drops. I feel like it doesn't follow well my frame around my shoulders. I'm not saying this so that you can tell me, no, it looks so good, etc. It's really personal preference. And I do think that that yokes in general look better on me when they're fitted, but if they're oversized, they really need to have a really tight high neck. And I don't know that the Nutiden is best for that shape. I think the Nutiden, I would prefer it with drape. Have something that can fall nicely, like a cardigan with like sort of flat rectangular panels, so to say, because the yoke shape, I feel like it doesn't let it work really well. It is beautiful, like the definition of the lace, I really like it. I like how fuzzy it is, how natural it looks. It is really, really beautiful. But it's more of not the right shape, I feel. Both for the yarn and for my personal taste to wear on my frame. So yeah, a little bit of an experiment. When I'm saying all of this, I know a lot of people, they're very product knitters, like, and if the product is not right, they feel like it's a waste, etc. I'm not at all like this. I like the experimenting, and I don't mind spending time learning and figuring out what I like with the yarn, and I still had a lot of fun knitting this, even if the result is not quite right for me. I am going to try to tighten the neckline. Maybe I can do this simply by maybe crochet something. I don't know. The thing is, it's a cast on, and while you can unravel cast-ons, it's very difficult, and I'm not doing this with Knitted. So I will probably end up having to pick up stitches in the twisted ribbing, and I think that because the yarn is so fuzzy, I might be lucky and it will not show, and add a lot more ribbing and maybe decrease so that it ends up a little bit more like this. See, because it's really what I prefer to wear. Still, it is very comfy and nice, and it's warm and light. And yeah, if I can't make it work, I might see if my mom likes it. Maybe she won't like the color so much, but she has a very different body shape and very different preferences compared to me, so she might actually enjoy the looser neckline. Again, this is my own gauge and yarn experiment fault. The way the color sits on the initial design and on the people who knitted the design in yarns that have a bit more elasticity, I love how it looks. And yeah, I just don't think that knitted and yokes work for me personally. I know lots of people knitted in any types of beautiful garments. I'm just trying to see what kind of things I would like. I really want to try, like I said, to hold it triple for a shawl, and maybe also for a cardigan. I do have lots of it left. I like the color a lot. This was gifted to me by some friends, and I think I will try to make some shawl so that I can experiment some more, because I do like the result of the fabric, which is so soft and beautiful. And yeah, so that is it for Rococo, which I really enjoyed. The lace is so fun to knit. Oh, I forgot to mention, I didn't do the lace on the sleeves. The pattern has lace here at the end of the sleeves, which is beautiful, but I didn't want to do it. The official reason is that I wear a lot the sleeves put back anyway. I'm always doing this, and I feel like if it had the lace, it would be too cumbersome. That is the official reason. The other reason was that I was too lazy. But yeah, so I didn't do the lace on the sleeves, and I think it looks fun like this as well. But yeah, I would try and re-knit the sweater in a different yarn and try to see what would work best for the knitted. But yeah, let's see if I ever find the time and the motivation to do something to that neckline. Second finished sweater, which this is nice. Not that the other one wasn't nice, but this doesn't have any problem with it, because I used yarns that are much more, that I know a lot more better. And this is the Ali's sweater from Sarah Opie. I think that's how you pronounce her name. Maybe I'm wrong. I will insert here a video of me wearing the sweater. So this is a really lovely raglan sweater with colorwork. I do love raglans with colorworks. There are not a lot of them. There are some Scandinavian and Nordic patterns that use that use that construction with colorwork. And I found that a lot of other designs have very low armholes, which makes it more like a Soncho. And it's not so much what I want. I want a proper raglan with colorwork, basically, but it's a bit annoying to shape and to grade, I understand. So when I saw this, I really liked it. And so it is top down. You start with the folded neck, which is so beautiful. Then you have some short rows on the back of the neck. And then you have your raglan and the colorwork motif, which someone commented in my last podcast that it makes them think of The Sims. And now I cannot unsee it. Even if I never really played The Sims. I think it was my generation, but I never really got into life simulators. Like, I like farming simulators and platformers, but I don't like simulating that I have a job. I don't know. Though people have lots of fun making silly things with The Sims. I like to watch some people who make some sort of challenges, like trying to kill your Sims the fastest way possible. That makes me laugh. I find that funny. So yeah, that is my humor. But still, because it's green as well, yeah, it looks like the little Sims logo. And yeah, so you have the raglan, and basically the colorwork is only every other round. So as you're doing the raglan increases, you're not doing the colorwork, and vice versa. So this makes it really easy to knit. And yeah, once you finish with this, you do a little bit of armhole shaping, and then you do the body, which I made shorter than what the pattern says, but longer than what I usually do, because it has a beautiful split hem. And this means that it wouldn't be any issue with my hip circumference. And you finish with a little bit of contrast color. The pattern recommends tubular bind-offs. Too lazy to do this. Sleeves fitted with some decreases, and then you do again the little diamonds, and you do the cuff, this time with the contrast color, and you finish with the main color. I really like this. It was really fun to knit. I did mention in my last podcast how the pattern is written, which is, it's a long pattern, but it's so clear. It's step by step. Everything is written. It does a lot of hand holding for you. So it might not be your cup of tea if you like patterns to be more succinct, but this has row by row written instructions. This has charts. This even has a table for the raglan, and the sleeve decreases have all the stitch counts, etc. It's a really complete pattern, which makes it super easy for beginners. So if you've been worrying about having to deal with the raglan shaping and the colorwork at the same time, don't, because the pattern really goes over everything in a lot of details. And yeah, it makes things really smooth sailing, and I really speed knitted through it. I knitted very quickly, especially once I had passed the raglan. It just went so quickly, and I really like it. So the armhole is comfortable, but it's not so deep that it bothers me, and the yarn is drapey enough that it's not cumbersome. My main yarn is Quince & Co. Chickadee, which is a sport weight pure wool in the colorway Chantarelle, and the contrast color is Hand Dyed Yarn by Black Elephant, which is based in the UK, and this was one of her oldest colorway. I had it in my stash for a very long time. It's the colorway Maui, which I absolutely loved, and wanted to have a project that would let it shine. And I think I held it double for this, and I think it works really well. The original patterns calls for decay, so my gauge is a little bit denser than what the patterns calls for. I knitted size 3, and yeah, that's it. Now I have something that's a little bit between size 1 and size 2 and 3. So I really like it. It's really soft and comfy, and it was lots of fun to knit. And yeah, I highly recommend the pattern if you like the Sims thing. Like I said, I wanted in the previous podcast, I told you about how I wanted the diamonds to show, but also to sort of blend. And as you can see, in some parts where there's like a paler blush color, it sort of blurs it, and I think it looks nice. On to works in progress. I have three new works in progress that I want to show you. The first one, it's kind of sad. It's the project I casted on because I wanted some simple knitting to knit in the train to the Knit Eat festival, so rip. Instead, I was knitting it in bed, half asleep. But it is a second version of my Elanide sweater, which is a simple fingering weight raglan design, which I published this summer, and my sample was striped, and one of the stripes was knitted with this yarn, which is the Selene base from Artemis Yarns, which is a marred 2-ply black and white. It's a fingering weight, 80% merino, 20% nylon, and it's really pleasant to knit. It was so soft. It feels a bit fine for a fingering weight, but it's so drapey and nice. And knitted it at the gauge of the sweater. It makes a really fine, lovely, soft fabric. And so it looks a bit wonky because I'm almost at the end of the raglan. I think I have about 10 rows more before I separate the sleeves and the body, but I already have a neckline, as you can see. You can't see much because of the marred yarn, but here's the raglan shaping here. But yeah, simple stockinette. Simple mindless knitting. It's really pleasant. I am knitting a larger size than what I did previously. The first sample was more fitted. This, I wanted a little bit more of a loose raglan that I could wear during the autumn or maybe the spring if I don't finish it quickly enough. But yes, this is what it looks like so far. A bit messy. It's really pleasant and fine. This yarn can also be knitted denser for socks, and Artemis Yarns, she has kits with this yarn and one mini neon pop color to make the cuffs, heels and toes, and it looks quite fun. I really like marred yarn. I don't use them a lot because you can't really do much with them in terms of texture or anything, but I do think it makes a beautiful fabric and it's really fun to knit. And yeah, I hope to be showing you something that looks a bit more like a sweater in the next episode, but we'll see, because I started a couple of other projects. And the next one I wanted to share is a new design that I'm working on. I'm already working on projects for next spring because I'm quite in advanced. I'm waiting for some yarn to knit a project that will be secret, and as I'm waiting on the yarn, I'm making other projects far ahead, and yeah, eventually I will be knitting designs for the winter in the previous winter if I can get enough advance on my sample knitting. But yeah, I hope you don't mind seeing projects like a month ahead. But yeah, this is planned for probably March. I wanted a nice, soft, lightweight jumper, and it's the return of the asymmetrical things. I am using yarn that was sent to me by Katia yarns. So this was like a couple of years ago when they first offered to send me yarn so that I could test it. And I wanted to try this one. I have tried all those since then, but this one I had still in my stash. This is their Tencel Merino yarn. It has 70% lyocell and Tencel and 30% Merino. And now that I look in their website, this yarn is out of stock. I'm afraid it's discontinued. So yeah, I was wondering if it was really wise to start a design in a yarn that was not available anymore again. I thought, is it really the perfect yarn for this design? Like, does this yarn have something unique which is necessary for the design? The answer is no, really, because this will be a very simple garment that will work very well with any heavy fingering to sport weight, like other merino and Tencel blends, even pure merino, things with silk, with cotton, with linen, etc. You will just need a yarn that is a bit soft and has some drape. And this is my swatch in stockinette. Yeah, so I decided to go ahead with it. But, you know, this is what happens when you want to knit from stash. You shouldn't, really. I want to make something that's a little bit asymmetrical. Again, I am sorry for the people who hate that. It's gonna be a drop shoulder, simple, mostly stockinette with this texture motif, which is inspired from one of my previous designs. It's so weird to say I'm taking inspiration from my own design. It sounds so so pretentious. Yes, I was inspired by myself. But no, I just took some motifs from the Pilar cowl, which is a previous designs of mine with twisted stitches and cables like this. And basically this little panel here with the cable, the twisted stitches and the ribbing with the little squares of garter here. This will be like on one side, go away, braid. This will be like on one side here, only on the front, because I want the garment to be easy to knit. And this is what I cast it on. And I graded everything, and I hope I got it right, because I confused myself so much with those numbers, because obviously, like, this is not the same gauge as the stockinette, so I had to compensate to make sure that the two halves of the fronts were still the same size, kind of like what I had to do here, right? But for some reason, this was more simple, and I complicated my life so much because I wanted the edge of the texture here to be right on the tip of the shoulder there. And so I had to position it in a certain way, and I got really confused. Now that I think about it, I was probably starting to be sick, and that's why. That's why. But yeah, eventually I think I did something that should work, and so I cast it on. This, it's on a small cable, so 2x2 ribbing, and then the body. And you can see mostly very relaxing, smooth stockinette with the texture motif here that's gonna sit on that side. And it will be different sizes depending on your size, obviously. Well, not obviously, but it worked here. I was able to make it so that it always represents 20 to 25% of the half of the front for all the sizes. I wanted it to be positioned about the same on the shoulders. The shoulders don't drop significantly more because you have a larger bust size, right? So the stitch count varies from 32 stitches to 38, then 44, and it should work well. And it still looks the same, because that's kind of the thing, right? How far do you modify a motif, a panel? That's the problem with panels, right? If you have a panel, do you want it to stay the same, or do you want it to be proportionate? And it's kind of decision that you have to make depending on the design. Some people really want one or the other, right? And I'm happy when I can do it with a good compromise, and this worked fairly well. I was able to add a little bit of stitches without it looking too different. So it should work nicely, I hope. But yeah, really easy to knit. Basically, I wanted this to be an easy project as well. Something to have a nice light sweater for the spring. It will have a round neck because I considered making a V-neck, but the thing is, if I had the V like this and the texture like this, it looked weird. There would have been a triangle of stockinette here, and I would have needed the texture to actually be completely on the half of the front for it not to bug me. So it will have a nice round neckline. But don't worry, if you love V-necks, next year is your year. Next autumn, winter. All of the V-necks. I planned the designs for way ahead, autumn and winter 2023, and I don't know why I put all the V-necks ideas there. But yeah, they're coming. Coughing break number, I don't know, 5. It's okay. It's okay. We're going to pull through. But yeah, this will be called Felise. Felise. I think it looks nice. I don't have a lot of garments in this like blue-green color, and I like it. I like it. I should do more. But yeah, I don't even know if the yarn is truly out of stock. Maybe it's just the season, but oh well. I will suggest others to testers as I'm making the pattern pages. So yeah, that is it. And I have a third work in progress that I wanted to share with you. Because as I was pouting because I couldn't go to the festival, I was mostly sleeping. It's nice. It was the kind of cold that let me sleep. So I wasn't too upset because I was sleeping. But as I was not sleeping, the few hours of time I was not sleeping, I decided to lift my spirits by making something very bright and obnoxious, right? I had bought a set of mini skeins. Okay, it's a bit messy. It's very messy. I think last winter I have... Oh my god, it's so tangled. Well, I'll fix it later. But I apologize for the state of these, but I will fix it. Don't worry, I'll fix it. I have a set of mini skeins like this, which looked much prettier before. They looked so beautiful, right? Shades of pinks and things. And these are from Schwedenroth yarns. I do not speak German. I never learned German. Leave me alone. I already speak 2 languages. It's fine. But yeah, this. Beautiful, beautiful dyer. I also have some sock sport yarn, I think, in a... Or maybe it was sock, I don't know. But in a really nice blue, green, dark shade. It tells you the state of my stash that I don't even know. The weight of that yarn. Well, I know the color. They have gorgeous yarns. And I really like this mini skein set. And I wanted to do, like, what do we do when we are upset? We cast on something bright and colorful and fun. And I decided to make a little shawl. A little shawl that would have different possibilities to it. I am using a slip stitch motif, which, you know, you might have seen it elsewhere. It's kind of simple and common. It's going to use like the 6 mini skeins, so it's going to use 480 meters. So a little bit more than 1 skein of fingering weight, but the idea is to use leftovers or if you have half skeins. And I'm going to make 3 different samples because I think it's really fun and it can look very different. So as you can see, it's going to be a fine little shawl. I'm increasing slowly, and the idea is once I will have finished these first 3 colors, it will be the center of the shawl, and it will be a triangle, symmetrical triangle. And I will start decreasing and use the other 3. And So yeah, it will have a shift in the center. And because there are still similar shades, it will still look rather smooth, I think, and fun. But yeah, this is very neon, right? So I also thought that it would look really nice in more subtle colors. So I ordered colors of Arwetta from Filcolana, which is a sock yarn. And it comes in 50-gram mini skeins, mini balls. So actually they're skein shapes, but they're like tubes. They're tubes. And I ordered them in shades of grey and greens. And it's going to be the same 3 colors all over. And then I also thought it would look good just with 2 colors, right? Or the thing is, what you can do is you can have one main color, which would be like my purple here. You see, the one that does the slipped stitch. Basically, you have lines of purl stitches and then a slip stitch and the stockinette contrast colors in between, like in a honeycomb way. And this would be really fun to use leftovers because, like, yeah, sure, like, unravel, go away. So I can use this color as my main color and then have only this as a contrast. And this will be like a more presentable sample, right? A little bit more subtle. But you can basically change, like, you can use like very small leftovers, changing every time if you want to have like 20 billion ends to weave in. Or you can make a bow. Like, you can make a magic knot with a bunch of leftovers and just let it shift naturally. Or you can use only 2 colors if you want something a little bit more subtle, which is what I would do. This is Ivy Fiber Co., which is the same dyer behind Artemis Yarns, actually, but this is her natural dyeing on non-superwash wool brand. And this is her Meadow base, which is pure Merino d'Arles, Arles Merino, fingering weight, beautiful, plump, soft, non-superwash. And this is the sand colorway, which is like this grayish beige. And this is John Arbon's Devonia 4-ply, which is Exmoor, BFL, and Wensleydale. And yeah. So, yeah. I was upset that I couldn't go to a yarn festival. And so I decided to improvise 3 new samples. But I think it will be fun. And I am leaning more and more towards knitting various samples of my designs, just so that I can put up front various ideas, especially when things are so customizable. Like I said, this is intended to be a leftovers. Use a bit less than 500 meters of leftovers fingering weight yarn, and you do you. It will also be any amount. You can make it bigger as well, because pretty much the pattern will tell you increase until you have half of your yarn left. And basically whatever that is, right? You can make it as big or as small as you want. I'm considering making this sample bigger. I'll see. I think so. If I can find a way to phrase the pattern presentation smoothly enough, because that's the thing. When you have various samples, it gets so confusing, because you're like sample A, sample B, sample C, and you're trying to describe them so that they match the pictures and that people can connect all the yarn information and all the meterage amounts and everything and whatever modifications you did. And it makes such lengthy pattern descriptions. My pattern descriptions are already pretty long. I know that compared to other designers, like, I put everything on the pattern page. And I know people don't read it because then I have questions of things that are written in the pattern description. I don't mind answering them. I understand that it's like a lengthy text and you might skip over some of it. So if I do find a way to phrase that this sample was also bigger, yeah, I think I would like to use all of it, basically, to have like a bigger shawl and show that you can do this. But yeah, maybe I can just write minimum of this amount of yarn. I don't know how I will do. I will think about it. But yeah, and I ordered the green yarn. I don't have it yet, but you may see me knitting on those in the next couple of months. Hopefully I can finish it quickly enough that I can start a test knit, because I would like to release it next year, sometime early next year. Who's talking to me? People are talking to me. Oh, it's the bank. Oh God. Received emails. But yeah, this is the plan. I have no idea how I'm going to call this design. Do you have any idea? Let me know. But yeah, very simple knit. It's just slip stitches. So, not complicated. And yeah, I had trouble figuring out the edges, how I wanted them to look. I think I'm good with that. I will have to see how it looks. Maybe I will alter it slightly. That is it for all the patterns and projects that I wanted to share with you. One small announcement to finish is that it's October. So the month of October is kind of like dedicated to celebrate sock knitting. And so to participate in this, all of my sock patterns are on sale on Ravelry. So they are 30% off until the end of the month. There's no code needed. It's automatic. You can use it as many times as you like. And I will leave a link in the description to the bundle, which has all of my sock designs on Ravelry. If you have been looking for those for a sock pattern, or if you wanted to get one of mine, and yeah, now is the time where they're on sale. And alongside this, I published a free pattern on my Patreon page. So this is for all Patreons. So basically, I have a Patreon page where you can support me, and there are different levels, but from the first level, which is €2 per month, plus whatever VAT you have where you live, this pattern is there for you. This is the Quintet socks, and this is a rather simple cuff down design with twisted ribbing, and then you have a smock pattern, which is kind of like a fan motif. And then the rest of the sock is in stockinette. Like all of my sock patterns, there are two heels. One is a heel flap and gasset, and one is a short row heel, German short row. And yeah, so this is available for all my Patreons, like I said. So if you like the design, you can just pop into Patreon at the lowest level and just go back out. Basically, Patreon is very flexible. It's a monthly subscription base, but you can come and go. I always insist that people use their support the way it suits them, right? I am always so grateful when I see that people are coming and going, and that they're joining Patreon just to sample what's there, because when you join Patreon, you have access to all the previous content. So I have 3 levels. There's the first level, which is €2 per month, which is, you can pay in dollars and in pounds as well, and in Canadian dollars on Patreon. I think Canadian dollars. Well, I receive Canadian dollars from people from Quebec, so yes, I think so. And from the €2 level, you basically get a presentation of all the designs that are coming this month. You get the test knits, and you get the freebies that are here and there. I try to have one every year for my patrons, one additional gift for them. And then you have the €5 level, which gets on top of that, you have one free pattern of your choice, a code to download a pattern from my pattern shops, and a discussion video, which is recorded in French but subtitled in English, where I chat about a lot of things behind the scenes, design vlogs, and sometimes yarn reviews, technical discussions, etc. And then the €10 level is for people who want to give extra support, and you get an additional free pattern. But basically, when you join Patreon, even if you just stay 1 month, if you cancel your subscription immediately, you can still see for this 1 month everything in the past. So you do not have to stay any amount of months to be able to enjoy the content and to give your support. There are so many great creators on Patreon to support. And yeah, personally, I like to do a little bit like a butterfly and just, I cannot unfortunately support everyone all the time. So I changed. I go to certain people 1 month and then others the next month, etc. And so I highly encourage people to do this. And I never want people to feel like they owe any sort of lengthy support. So I insist that if you like the design, you can just come in and get the pattern and go. It's perfectly fine. It's there for this, basically. But yeah. This is going to be so annoying to edit. I'm not crying. I'm coughing, I promise. That's it. And yeah, so that's it for everything that I wanted to talk about for this episode. Thank you so much for watching this. I hope it wasn't too painful to see me struggle to speak and to breathe, but I really lifted my spirits to show you the pretty yarns and everything. So I hope you enjoyed. I will see you again probably at the beginning of November. And yeah, I will have nice announcements soon. If you're a V-neck person, maybe you won't have to wait until next year before there's something for you. But yeah, I think when you see this video, the secret will be out. But yeah, thank you so much for watching this episode. I hope you enjoyed. I wish you a very happy end of the day, evening. I hope you are well and safe. If you are in the US, in the troubling path of the hurricanes. But yeah, I wish you lots of joy from your crafts and other things. And yeah, have a lovely time, and I will see you soon.